we'll
We
see.
didn't win or lose last weekend because it was a bye week for us.
You got lucky.
Yeah.
You
Nah, it's
got
funny. There was
lucky.
a meme that was floating around. It was like Jags bye week, 34-10 loss. Just
Trevor Lawrence, two lost
any chance
fumbles.
to
Uh,
crap on us, they do it. I mean, it's deserved. Our
yeah.
season's done. But well, I see
So,
some people joining in here. We can yeah, we can go ahead and get it going.
yeah.
Um,
So I wanted to start this one though, because I talked to you about this last week, because I got this last
yeah.
week, and I'm still hot under the collar about it. So
Well,
I believe that we've done a pretty good job of keeping track of what's going on with Change Healthcare, and they wrote up a letter from October 26th of this year. Didn't receive it till last week. And yeah, it is in. Hold on one second.
Well, if you need anything, let me know.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yep. So, as you can tell, I'm at the office today. So,
yeah,
this is a notice of breach from Change Healthcare, as in my information is on this thing. One of the things that pisses me off is that,
that's just it's funny. Keep going.
well, no, no, what pisses me off is that the breach happened on the 21st. They confirmed on the 7th that the cyber criminal was able to see my data between February 17th and February 20th. However, I'm not notified until October, which is in clear violation of the breach notification regulations.
And that the
So,
breach notification regulations, just to remind the audience, you have to report that to your
to the specific patients. So
patient
just
within,
because this was on the news,
yeah,
just because they reported to OCR, does not mean that they reported it to me, the affected individual.
yep, it's an issue.
So now I'm gonna get to have a couple fun phone calls in the next week and a half, figuring out what are my options, because I'm annoyed as hell about it now. Because what's even worse about this, Ray, is that I'm in the healthcare industry. Everybody has perks depending on the industry that they're in, right? I don't normally go to the doctor, and when I do, I call one of our clients. And I get what's called professional courtesy, unless I have to get like an image or I have to use some kind of device that costs them money. Usually, office visits are free for me.
Yeah.
So how in the hell does this
So
happen? Make that make sense. I've been to the hospital in literally 20 years.
they have that
How's
for
this?
you.
How make this make sense? So, I'm a little hot under the collar. I'm gonna be having fun with this one right here, and yeah,
So when
for
you say
whatever reason,
you're gonna contact some people, who you looking to reach out to about this?
I'm gonna be contacting. I'm gonna be contacting one of my attorneys,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be looking to see if there's a class action lawsuit. Because you mean to tell me that this happened in February, you confirmed it in March, you fixed the problem by June, and you still waited 4 months more to send out legalese saying that, hey, by the way, your information was part of the breach? That's that's not acceptable under
Was
the
there
letter or
did
the
they
intent of the law.
did they offer any incentives like
The
free
only thing
credit
that is on
reporting
here,
or
and
anything?
I can go to changecybersupport.com and I enroll in the free credit monitoring service.
How long are they offering that for?
Usually it's about 2 or 3 years. 2 years by a company called IDX. So I will be looking forward to dealing with this. And yeah, that'll be fun for me to work on. But yeah, I'm real. I've been hot under the collar for this one since I called you about it on Friday.
I was gonna
Because
say that
that's when my wife had it, and she'd been holding onto it for a couple days.
the
So
good thing about this situation, or at least me looking at it in the positive, is we can do more webinar episodes on this subject.
oh, absolutely. We're gonna be mining the crap out of this every step of the way.
No, but
And
I think it's
my
beneficial, especially, you're going to be dealing with an attorney, what questions to ask and yeah, just the entire process of going through this, I think it'll be beneficial to the audience and yeah.
well, Well, my personal goal is to see how easy it is on this side of it. Because normally I'm dealing with it on the other side of it, on
Sure.
the provider side of it. What happens, working with the attorneys, setting all this crap up. But now I'm going to get to see it from this side. Granted, it's going to be, I expect it to be easier because of the size and the resources that the company has available to it, which is completely different than a lot of the clients that we work with. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll keep everybody updated. But now, so I mean, to get back to our regularly scheduled program for today,
Yeah.
did you have some that you had in mind that you wanted to bring up? Because
Yeah,
today we're going to be talking
actually.
about the naughty list and what we're thankful for, as in us not being part of the naughty list.
And yeah, just to give the audience just an idea that may have not have been on last week's webinar, and I did post the YouTube link from last week's session, but today we're going to be discussing the breach portal, and Jose and I are going to pick a couple of organizations off that list and sort of dissect and see why they got fined and what was their was there any reparations and what was their
Well, is there
process and
anything interesting for that we would find?
yes, I got.
I found a couple of rather interesting ones that most people are not going to see. I will say that just looking at this one, I don't know if you noticed this, Ray.
Here, I'm
There
gonna
were
post. I'm
quite a
posting
few.
the. I'm posting a link to our audience as well. What this is the OCR portal that we're referring to, and this will show you any organization recently that has been uh,
Well, it'll go back.
employed.
It has 854 pages and it's got 100 people per page. But basically the first page goes all the way back to the end of September. And there, for me, one of the big things that popped up was that there's a surprising amount of dentists
Hmm.
for me looking at this first page.
That's funny. One of the I looked up. I did some research on two organizations, and I'll put an article of. I'll do one of mine first, Jose, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Um, this isn't a dental organization. This is a Northeast Spine and Sports Medicine located in New Jersey, and I just posted the article over here in chat. Long story short, they had a hacking IT incident. Their network server got hacked. About 6,500 roughly patients were affected from first
Which one was it
name.
again?
I just posted in the chat. That's Northeast Spine and Sports Medicine,
Okay.
located in New Jersey. In terms of how large are they, they're 10 locations and about 75 employees within the organization. And like I said,
Gotcha.
they had a network server was hacked.
That's that's a small. Now, I am curious about this because for 10 locations, 75 employees, for there only to be 6,300 patients affected is very interesting to me.
I thought that portion was interesting, but like you said earlier about Change Healthcare, they allegedly found out, or this incident happened sometime between December 2023 and January of 2024, and they
So
sent
why
out
is it
the
being reported now?
well, that's it exactly that's the same thing as Change Healthcare. They report or so they sent out the breach notification to these patients October 17th. So that's oddly enough, very similar to Change Healthcare.
Hmm,
Um, and they did offer 24 months complimentary credit monitoring services as
that's the
well.
standard.
So, but I was
That's
trying to
the
dig in to
standard.
see, if they, obviously in violation of the breach notification in that time frame that they received any additional fines, but I couldn't find anything as of yet. But like I said, it seems to be Change Healthcare can do it, and
Well,
this smaller organization has done it as well. And it just makes you wonder, did they not know they had to do this, and their attorney or their consultant told them later down the road once they confirmed, or not sure. It's
so there was two on here that I wanted to bring up real quick because they kind of go hand in hand. And one of them was, where did it just go? Doman, Ackerland, and Eddy.
Hmm.
That happened on October 7th with just under 10,000 patient records.
Is that on the first
That is,
page?
yeah, it's on the first page. I didn't even go past the first page. I found way too much interesting stuff for me on
It
Doman
really is.
Ackerland. They're an accounting firm,
Okay.
right? ATSG Inc. is technically a shipping firm, and that one had almost 1 million lives affected. And then there was where was this? Where was the other one? The other one was a billing, Haffetz and Associates, and that one is an insurance agency.
Okay.
Now, the reason why I brought those three up is because you don't normally see those on here. You're going to see your hospitals, you're going to see your doctor's offices, but you don't normally see something that is honestly a tangential to what's normally considered healthcare.
You said half fits in associates.
Haffetts and Associates, which is on
Okay.
the
It's at the
bottom.
very bottom of this.
Yeah,
Okay.
very bottom of the first page.
If you're following along, audience, all the way at the bottom of the first page, you'll see them listed. So they're listed as a business associate.
Yes. The reason why they're a business associate and they had to report is because they are an insurance sales agency.
Hmm.
So they do Medicare, they do health insurance plans. So when you're dealing with that, HIPAA applies as well. But you don't normally see them, and most people do not consider them to be high risk. I would honestly, as a consultant, consider them to be very low risk. I'm kind of surprised that they had a breach, but when I look at that the breach is through the email, now I'm not as surprised
I see.
because it probably means either someone used old credentials and got in, and there was patient information that was on an email that wasn't encrypted and wasn't secure,
Yeah.
so I mean, you can use Office 365 and you can use Google Office and all this crap, but if it's not secured when it can be seen anywhere, then it's really not that secure, and therefore it's got an issue for a breach there. The ATSG one I'm interested in, though. I would like to look into that one a little bit more later on because that one's a shipping agency.
Shipping agency, huh?
Yeah, so I guess they're a network server, and because of how many lives, perhaps it's that they are self insured, is what
Hmm.
I'm guessing.
Because
If I
they're
use
considered a business associate, right? Shipping
It's
agency.
considered they were considered to be the business associate. So I
Gotcha.
mean, it could have been HR,
Hmm.
it could have been they're self-insured and they have it under a different organization, something like that. Because I can't imagine what a shipping agency would be doing with that stuff. But then the other one, the accounting firm, was funny to me too, because accounting is another one that you wouldn't think HIPAA security out the gate. You wouldn't think high likelihood of getting hacked, and they did. It was through their network server. So, granted, they were again a situation where they were a business associate, and it looks as though they had a business associate to them. But again, it's an accounting firm. It's interesting to me why they would even have that kind of information on there, anyways.
That is
So,
strange.
it's interesting in that respect. You got one that you wanted to hit up?
I was gonna
You want
say
to
this was the dental group. I'm gonna post the link in the
which one?
chat.
There was like 7 or 8 of them
This
on here.
this one's located in Tampa, Smile Design Management.
Okay, yeah, I saw that one.
So the last one that I covered, right? It was 10 locations, 75 employees, but there was only about 6,500 records compromised, right? So this organization, 50 offices, 682 employees, they generate 17 million a year annually, and there was only 500 records that were apparently compromised.
That's
Somewhere just north of 500 records.
that
So
has to have been that has to have been a laptop was stolen.
I found
That's the
that
only thing I can
very
think of.
odd. Well, the article it states that it was unusual activity related to a third-party software used by the company. So it sort of leads towards some sort of hacking incident. It doesn't, it doesn't provide the exact details. It says after learning that the sensitive consumer data was accessible to an unauthorized party, Smile Design Management reviewed compromised files to determine that the information was leaked in which consumers were impacted. Smile Design completed this process on August 15th. And by the way, when the investigation took place, that was between February 22nd and 23rd of 2024. So there seems to be a trend.
Yeah,
There seems to be
yeah.
a trend that, and I guess what my question to you as the as a consultant, and you're dealing with maybe customers that are dealing with potential threats, is that usually how it works? They'll do an internal investigation first before presenting the breach,
So
or what?
there's a tricky the rule is very, very interesting, right? Because you basically once you find out you have a breach, you have
Right.
two timelines. There's the timeline to report to OCR, and then there's the timeline to report to the patients that were affected. Now, the how can I put this? The timeline that has the most wiggle room. And by wiggle room, I mean you can fudge the dates around to buy a little more time, is the one reporting to OCR.
Is that why we're seeing
But
like 5, 6 months down the road? Like,
I don't know. It could be honestly a situation where it could be another hack. Honestly, like I honestly, I wouldn't be able to know more until unless if this goes to court, then all of that stuff can be picked up by FOIA. But until then, the only way that we'll get more information is if they're a publicly traded company,
Mhm.
because then they have to do a lot more reports that are just public information, just because of FEC, SEC, and all that stuff. So
I guess
it's
internal
interesting.
for this one, like I said, it was like a obviously an internal investigation. They drilled down that this unauthorized access happened February 22nd, 20 and 23rd of 2024, and they concluded uh, this investigation August 15th, and then they reported it officially October 7th. So,
Hmm. I'm curious because I have worked with some firms that have had to be on this list, and they don't normally like having a 6 month gap from when the breach occurred to when it's reported to the department, because this shows on here when the breach was submitted.
that's why I wish I could find out if there was any additional. Like, yeah, it'd be nice if they listed out the fine amount here, but obviously
Nah,
they're
I
not
mean
going to. But this
this
was a
is a
lot.
black mark.
Yeah, no, definitely. But this company, large company, and 682 employees, 50 offices, generating 17 million in annual revenue.
Well, I
I
mean,
got to
it
think
doesn't.
that there's going to be some hefty ones on that one.
It's interesting to me though, the ones that you pick versus the ones that I pick. You're picking the
Well,
bigger ones that you would
I
expect
thought,
would not have these issues,
well,
whereas
yeah.
I'm looking at ones that they're not normally on the expected path, right? Like you expect your orthos, your cardiologists, your insurance plans. Perhaps if you know how government programs work, then you would definitely expect for there to be government programs on here, which there are on this very first page. But here's one that I thought, and that brings up a perfect example, right? Smiles in the Pines. It's on the first page. It's a company out of North Carolina. Only 1,800 patients were affected, but it was an unauthorized access disclosure. It was reported in late October, but it was a desktop computer, the
Yeah.
EHR, the email, another portable electronic device, and there was a HIPAA privacy issue in the paper and films part. There was no business associate on here. And
Yep.
the craziest part about this one is that when I looked them up, they're permanently closed now, according to Google. I haven't tried to call them. But it's something to where it tells you, I mean, when you have something like this can really bend you over on the fines because if anybody recalls, you're looking at on the low end $25,000 per, on the high end 50,000 per. I mean, let's just do round numbers because I didn't go to school for accounting, right? Let's
Right.
just put $10,000 per incident. You have 1,800 incidents. Ladies and gentlemen, that's $1.8 million in mandatory fines.
It's got
Mandatory federal fines is 1.8 million. You can be the best lawyer in the world because of this whole mess of a situation, which this one probably has a great story behind it, honestly, with how many different areas that they identified there were issues. Um,
well, my initial thought is this has got to be like some sort of smaller mom and pop type of organization because I mean, that's so much to
I mean, it's a
get dinged on.
pediatric and cosmetic dentistry spot out of North Carolina. It's not a large organization at all.
Sure,
But
sure.
the problem that I'm having is that even if I'm an awesome negotiator and I get the nicest auditor, you're still looking at $750,000 in fines. You bankrupted the business. And potentially, if they can prove that this was like actual negligence, this dentist lost their license.
Nah, that's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't want to go and freak anybody out that's in a smaller practice, but I do want to go and make sure that everybody understands 1,800 patients is not a lot of patients.
Mhm.
I mean, I go back to this again and again and again. When you look at, you need to have per provider 2 to 3,000 patients, a census of 2 to 3,000 active patients, so that way you can survive. 1,800 patients is not a lot. I mean,
That's why I thought that Tampa was interesting because there was only 500 compromised
yeah,
in
well,
such a large
500 is the minimum
organization.
to reach this breach
Well,
report on here,
exactly.
on this website. You can always request if it's under 500, but all the ones that are 500 and above are pop up on this website that anybody can see. So, I
Right.
mean, you have right above the Smile and the Pines, you have Arkansas Blue Cross and Blue Shield. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you've got a life flight company, a couple
If
spots
you
down.
scroll down below Smiles and the Pines, just a few down, you'll see Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network. It says laptop.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things where we can only control the things that we can control, but if we document and we track the things that we can control when the oh shit situations occur, your defense team, your legal team, your consulting team, they have a leg to stand on. You know, a lot of problems happen when it's hey, um, I did nothing. And some of these smaller places, you could potentially see that they did nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple billing companies on here. There's no reason for some of this stuff, but you're seeing that some of these now are starting to get picked up and they're getting onto this website, and which means that they're going to get more eyeballs on those areas. So if you're in a lower, how can I put this, a lower risk um, section of the industry, getting away with, hey, I don't really need to worry about it, isn't really going to be, it's definitely not an effective defense. Please don't ever say that. But but now it's becoming to where any of these things can happen, you know? And when we looked at some of the bigger ones that happened in our area, Ray, right? Like it
Oh yeah.
wasn't that there was in the institution was attempting everything they could. The human element just made mistakes, you know, and we're all human and we're all going to make mistakes. But if we have stuff and we have protocols and we have a healthy environment for the staff to come to and handle things proactively and be aware of that their actions have consequences, you can see that these things will resolve themselves, if you will. So like some of these places, I guarantee you they're gonna have fines, but they're gonna get through it because they are showing that they did everything that they could do to prevent it. There's ones where there though that I can't even I can't imagine the excuse for this one. Like did you see the Tri-County Medical Supply and Respiratory Services?
How far down is that one? Oh no, wait, check. Okay, I
It's
see it. I see it.
pretty
8,000
it's pretty
records,
far down.
paper and films, and proper disposal.
Yeah, so it was improper disposal.
No business
What did
associate
you
present
do?
either.
What did you do? Did you just chuck it in the trash with
Put it in the
everybody's
regular trash
lunch?
bin. That's what they did.
Like what are we doing here? Like, and that one's one that annoys me just because it's paper and film, which means that
Easy.
you've been doing this wrong for a while because this goes back to HIPAA privacy. This isn't even new stuff.
Yeah.
At least be interesting and be clever about your screw up. Like this is just not working, right? So I'm thankful that I don't know anybody that works at some of these ones. Actually, I don't know anybody that works at any of these on the front page.
The
Uh,
second page, there's an interesting one. It doesn't list out. Where did it go? Hold on. Let me find it. Doesn't list out the state for some reason, but it says theft. So it says
it says theft.
desktop
Well,
computer, other portable electronic device. 2,600
uh,
plus patients affected.
is this
It's
Oficina Médica?
yeah, yeah.
I bet you dollars to donuts. I bet you it's either Florida or Texas.
I was gonna say Florida all the way, but you get Texas and yeah, Texas could be
And
valid.
that's Oficina Médica. That's Spanish. I'm betting you. You know what? I'm gonna say it. I'm Puerto Rican. I don't care. It's Hialeah. I bet you it's Hialeah in Miami. I bet you.
I would
I
not
mean,
I wouldn't bet against you.
so I mean, it's really interesting. Some of these ones that are popping up here now, on our end as on my end as a consultant, our end as a podcast, your end as EPICompliance, because these are all people you wouldn't think are not doing things the way that they needed to do it or that they were at risk of something like this. But not too
Right.
far above the Oficina Medica, you've got J. Taylor and Associates LLC. I mean, this sounds like an accounting firm if I've ever heard of one. Let me.
I mean, I think I mean something else to note on here is network server is the percentage of these incidents. I mean, a huge
Accounting and
percentage,
tax advisory.
huge percentage.
Accounting. Oh, oh, that hurts. That hurts. So this J. Taylor and Associates, the main thing is accounting and tax advisory. And on their Google, it literally goes our people careers about J. Taylor and then healthcare consulting.
Oh man.
That hurts. That hurts a lot. Um, Yeah, it's not a good look, bro.
Oh,
But again, hacking IT incident. Like this could be something that IT was an issue, or their email was an issue, or they have Office 365 on every device, and you know what I mean? Like it's very, very easy to have issues with this kind of stuff. So we've got to be aware of what our vendors are doing and what we're doing.
yeah, I gotta hold them accountable.
We've got to hold everybody accountable. You know what I mean? But that's why the BAAs are so important because all these ones with the business associates in here that had the issue, we can punt the liability off. I don't want those fines. Are you kidding me? If I had that kind of money, I mean, first off, like we got
Right.
one of these major problems. I mean, I would not be surprised if some of these people ninja vanished. But usually they don't because we're in healthcare. You would think that some of these larger companies, the owners would be like, "Oh, there was a HIPAA breach. Bye, I'm out of here." And if they had any sense, a lot of these docs that have the funds to do it probably would. But because they don't think about compliance as being important at all, they don't pay attention.
They just don't. Yeah,
They
you're
just
right.
don't care. I mean, so I
Well, these
I
larger
just
companies too, they probably just
oh, the larger
you know
companies, it doesn't matter. And when I say the
they'll
larger
fire
companies, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, they'll hang somebody out to dry and
Oh yeah,
rinse and
yeah, that's what
repeat.
I mean though. Like when I say the larger companies don't matter, I mean it's that there's so many people that are there that are going to go and get hung out to dry, and it's going to get blamed on four different departments and seven different people, and then somebody's going to fall on that sword because of politics, and then be done with it. So um, it's rather intriguing to me in that respect. So I mean, it's when we talk about being on this list and avoiding this list, it's just you got to have policies. You got to have procedures that follow the policy. You got to train your team. And with a lot of these being email based, network server based, you've got to also talk to your IT company and vet them and get a report monthly on breach attempts, on your antivirus being updated, on your anti malware being updated. If you're not getting a report on that stuff and you're paying for those services, why not? You mean to tell me that I can go get my tires rotated and they'll tell me how my brake pads are doing on all my brake pads without me asking, but my IT company can't tell me, can't run a report on something they're not even actually doing because all this stuff is done passively anyways? Miss me with the bullshit. Like come on. It's not that hard. It's really not. Um it's especially for something like this, like we're just at this point now
We're
that
seeing
this
so
is
much
this
of it
is
though. That's
yeah, there's so much of it. I mean, this pay this so this website only keeps track of the last 24 months.
okay.
We have 854 pages.
854 with 100 on each. Woo,
That's wild.
that is a lot.
Wild. So, I mean, when we look at that, every single study says that, hey, there have been more and more breaches last year and the over last year, over the year before that, over the year before that, over the year before that. We need to understand that this is just the new normal. So control the things you can control, punt the things you can't, vet the people that are doing the jobs. For a while there, pre-COVID, there was so many IT companies that were getting involved in healthcare, from mom and pops to larger IT organizations. And there were quite a few of them, especially after COVID, that I don't want to say that they got smart, but they definitely had a risk manager on their team
Yeah.
because some of them said, screw it, we're out of healthcare because it's just not worth it. Because just like we're having problems as the providers of the care, these IT companies know if my client gets breached, this is a giant black eye on us.
Yeah.
So do we want that client? And then some people are like, screw it. Yeah, we get to play with all the new toys in regards to cybersecurity and all this stuff. And but all right, at what cost? Because if there's an issue, this is on you. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm paying you to do this stuff and you didn't get it done, or even worse, you're the IT company and there was a breach because you patched something and didn't pay attention, not a good look. And that's already happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
It happened with what with the air
Oh,
why am I
CrowdStrike.
blanking on it? Huh?
CrowdStrike.
Yes. Yes. Happened with CrowdStrike, it happened with a client of ours. So, I mean, we've got to be aware of, and if you're in IT, you got to be aware of where you're pulling these patches and updates from. Make sure you got to do just as much legitimate work as your client that is, well, I wouldn't even say they're tech savvy, they're tech literate. You know what I mean? And some clients are absolutely, not even tech literate. If it's not point and click with more than two buttons, I don't want to deal with it. And I have seen providers that are like that. And I have worked with staff members that are like that. Currently, I don't have any of those, but I have seen that, and so it's a question of, okay, how can we mitigate that? How can we make things easier, but still keep things secure? And it's a balancing act. And we've got to make sure that if we're going to be going easier on one side, that one, we protect based on that. Let's use an example that everybody knows. Okay. I've got two boys. They're 6 and 3. Currently, my wife has left for a couple days. My boys are still alive, healthy, and do not have any new bruises or scratches or anything like that. But I can only do so much to protect them because my boys will be boys. So they're climbing the couches, they're jumping off the couches. They've never seen wrestling, but they're doing wrestling moves. And I keep telling them, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. If you're
I love
gonna do
that.
something, don't do it. It's gonna end badly. And what happens? They do it, they fall, and I say, hey man, walk it off. Now, does that mean that I let them just completely jump everywhere off of the couches and don't have anything on the ground so that at least it breaks their fall? Of course not. So I have some padding there, enough to where they
Thinking
don't cut
ahead.
themselves hard, but enough to where hopefully they learn the lesson and we get to see how smart they are in real time, right? So it's kind of that same situation where I knew that this was going to be a point of breach. And so I proactively addressed it, and I had a plan for when the situation occurred on how to address it further. Again, that's you know what I mean? Like, it's a very real example, so that way you guys can kind of see how to play with that within your practice. Because I hate to put it like this too, but if you're in management and you're dealing with multiple personalities, it can feel like you're a parent sometimes, and that's okay to feel that way because that's just how it is. Um, how
That's a good point.
coddling you are towards those personalities is a completely different bag of tricks. But I've seen everything from babying all of the employees or just the providers to nope, everybody deal with your own nonsense in your own corner. And it's finding out what is the best mix for all of that, right? And when we talk about
Yeah.
compliance, it's finding that mix of, hey, come to me with the problems, let's be proactive with solutions and future proof and not just past proof, right? So if we're in a situation right now where we're using just standard Google as our email, but we're going to move to Office 365, or we're going to move to having an offsite server through our EHR, whatever scenario it is, you need to future proof with your team, with your IT. Hey, what are the issues? What are the cons with this? What are the attack vectors? Right. So we moved our clinic to 365 this year. And specifically, I did it for the emails because I was so concerned about it. And one of the things I did do was I told my staff, and I was like, hey guys, we can't be having the Office 365 for the office on our cell phones.
Right.
Even though, I'm running around, my partner's running around, it does inhibit our ability to react to business situations in a speedier manner as I would like. The security factor of it all makes it to where it's not worth it, right? Because if someone grabs my phone and that's logged in, the Office 365 is logged in, all of a sudden my cell phone is a giant breach problem. Which means that then I've got to go and worry about, okay, where is this phone at all times? Is it protected? Is it, and I just have to go down the list, and it's just not worth it. Right. So it's one of those things again where I'm playing that risk management balance beam, and I'm giving you real examples. So that way, hopefully, you can see how I deal with it on a day-to-day basis and not just as a consultant and telling you, hey, you need to worry about A, B, C, D. It's, yeah, let's know that A, B, C, and D are there.
Yep.
Let's work towards making sure that they're as secure as possible. But in the trenches, this is how this goes. We need to know that we need to be able to at least argue that we're following the intent of the law and not just the words. Because the words don't necessarily give us as much flexibility. I mean, if you really keep in mind the fact that the major HIPAA law was written in 1996. Ladies and gentlemen, that thing is almost 30 years old.
We're rapidly approaching here.
Well, and what's the problem? All of these updates are not in HIPAA. They're in different places. They're in an omnibus rule. They're in high tech. They're in the PPACA. They're in this. They're in that. And there's no actual update to HIPAA. And this is where you always have these arguments with your attorneys, or you can really have some fun consulting and IT conversations about what is more important, what supersedes what law. And that's where this gets really complex really fast, because on one side, it's telling you, for example, here's one we were just having, right? On one side, the federal government is telling you, no, everything needs to be secure. You need to worry about this, and this, right? No, you don't want to be sharing patient information with everybody, unless it's for TPO and, Stark and all of this fun stuff. But then on the other side, Medicare is telling you and incentivizing certain practices and setups to work with different specialties to make sure that there's no duplicative care, to make sure that the speed of the care to the patient is faster and the quality of care is better because they're sharing all the data. Well, which is it? Is it Stark is more important, or is it the speed and quality of care to the patient? You know what I mean? So
Pick your
like
poison.
this is what makes this stuff difficult. I find it fun because I get to go and work with attorneys and find loopholes. I love loopholes. Um, so but this is where compliance can get interesting, because you have all right, yes, I believe this. But it's not just I believe because A, B, C, and D. So if you're going to go with something, you need to have an A, B, C, D, so that way everybody at least understands your thinking if something goes south.
I agree.
So, I mean, at this point, are there any other ones that you're finding interesting, or if anybody's got any questions, throw them up in the
Yeah,
chat. If
let's
not,
take a little time. Maybe our audience has a question, or maybe they have an incident from the link they want us to talk on.
it cracks me up that there's so many of these smaller insurance agencies that are popping up on here. You
Yeah, I
got
didn't
Blue
realize it
Cross
until I
Blue.
started scrolling through and
There's quite a
seen a
few.
few.
There's quite a few Blue Crosses on here. There's quite a few um, state agencies on here. Uh, I mean, it's kind of it. I find it hilarious in that if even the state agencies are having problems, clearly, this is a problem, right?
Oh yeah,
Is so I don't want anybody feeling like, oh, this is, how am I supposed to keep up with all this?
I agree.
Do you want my
Oh,
honest answer, or you want the legal answer? The honest answer is you're not going to.
yeah.
You just have to do the best you can. The legal answer is I don't care, get it done. Right? But even with infinite government resources, you're constantly seeing a state agency. There's a county hospital here in Lubbock County. Isn't that pretty big?
You said Lubbock.
Yeah.
Let's see. What page is that on?
The first page at the top.
I was like page 6 and 7 deep because I just wanted to see if there was like something random in here.
No, it's Lubbock is a smaller county, I guess.
Texas. 501 individuals affected.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the county hospital right there.
Yeah.
Equinox? No.
We'll do another one of these episodes in the future, but I think it's safe to say at
Oh
this
yeah.
point we got to follow
Oh, okay. All
your
right.
case
I'm
now and
glad it
change
wasn't one of those
healthcare
again.
moving forward.
Interesting though. I mean, like I said, like this is some people like to Facebook hack, some people like to Instagram stalk, and this is the stuff that I can really sink my teeth into and find interesting because I like to see, what the issues were, what kind of setup they were, so that way we can help.
No, absolutely. And
But yeah, so I mean, this is United Seating and Mobility. That's got to be a DME, and their email was the one that got hit. Oh man,
so I mentioned
no,
this
this.
in last week's webinar towards the end, but I'm going to mention it again. EPICompliance is speaking at this healthcare inspired event. It's a virtual compliance seminar. It's December 7th. I believe it starts 8:30 Central Time. I want to say is when it starts, and then it goes all the entire day. I think they end at 4:30 Central, 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. But we got a luncheon spot that we're going to be speaking on, and then our CEO, Dr. Delgado, who's been on our previous webinars, he'll be speaking, I believe, on the final topic of the day as well. So we're looking forward to that event. I did post a link in chat. If again, this is for CEUs. So if you're looking for continuing education credits, certainly look to attend this event. I'd say it's priced very reasonably, and there is a discount code that you can apply as well. I'm going to put it in chat for an additional 20% off. Um,
Yeah, so I just saw one that looked interesting. It's a legal office, and it's
you're
rather
still on
large, and they have,
there. You're
of
still
course,
going
I
through it.
mean, that's the topic for the day. My ADD hasn't kicked in that hard.
Apparently
Um,
not. We've done like how many now? Where have we done?
400 attorneys,
What page is
right,
this on?
in eight offices in eight cities around the US, 305 patients, and it's all from a business associate. It's a legal firm. Like again, like it's one of those like, some of these are not good looks.
What state?
Huh?
What state?
So the headquarters is St. Louis, Missouri, but they have offices in Chicago, Dallas, LA, New York, St. Louis, Birmingham, Alabama, Washington, D.C.
Good Lord.
It's 100-year-old firm.
Well,
This one revenue is almost $250 million a year.
they're gonna stay in business, but it's gonna
It's gonna hurt.
somebody's head's gonna roll.
Oh
Several.
yeah, somebody's definitely getting it. So,
Wow.
ooh, well, shoot, man.
Well,
About that time. If
we need.
anybody's got any topics, what do we got next week?
So as of right now, I think your dad's gonna jump on with us. Topic is to be announced. Um,
Okay,
I'll let you know, and then we're trying to get one still with Jennifer, who is a biller and a coder. We're trying to get her on
that's
here
right.
as well. Um, Hopefully we'll have that iron out here, but obviously for those that attended today, you will receive correspondence with a new registration link and topic to register for. So just be on the lookout for that. As always, yeah, if you have any topics you'd like us to discuss, please throw it in here in chat. Um, as long as it's compliance related, always interested in
I
looking
mean,
into it. At
anything
this point,
even honestly, like,
maybe it doesn't need to be compliance related. Just
well, I mean,
anything
anything
anything happening in
healthcare
healthcare.
admin,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
business. I don't want to get into the clinical side of things too much, just because
No, no, no.
I'm not a clinician. You're not a clinician, and every time I sit down and get more into the clinical side of things, I realize that it's not nearly as much of a science, but it is far more of an art form.
I think that was the
Um,
very first webinar I did with this series was on needle sticks.
oh, which one?
Needle sticks. It
Oh God. Okay, but you know what? That's a compliance. That's an OSHA thing, right?
is
So
OSHA, OSHA,
that makes
OSHA compliance.
sense. Um, but yeah, so I mean, we'll be working on a few topics for everybody to get us through December and everything.
Yep.
But if you've got any ideas, feel free, reach out to us. If not, definitely stay safe. Be thankful that you're not on the list that I am still like hyper fixating on.
You're going to be on that for the next hour.
I mean, it'll probably be a little bit throughout all weekend, honestly, while I'm getting distracted on things I need to get done.
It is
So,
bookmarked for me. I can't lie. I like to hop on it every time and again just to see what's new.
I mean, yeah. So
But
stay safe. We'll see you guys next week. And then yeah, maybe we'll catch you.
yep, absolutely. Thanks, Jose. Appreciate your time as
Thanks.
always. And everybody including you as well, Jose, have a happy Thanksgiving. And we'll see you next week.
Yep, you too, man. Later.
Bye. Thanks, Tracy. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.